Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
A wife wrote in a letter to her friend, "My husband is so good at home repairs that they have a special VIP area for him in the emergency room." Morning! Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a real live patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, patriots, stand up and be proud. Good morning. And a good morning to you as we start a brand new month, April 1. Good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a big spring tire sale going on right now. And don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, we're going to go to our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have you done this before?
I have.
Well, do it again. You did a wonderful job. Call me back another morning. I'd love to have you back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice lady right there. Very well done. Thank you very much. Time for the weather, and Old Wheels and I were discussing this a little bit ago. Weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway, and the best of tools and equipment. Now, I know we're in springtime, unsettled weather and everything, but you got a job to get done. You've got to get something done. They've got all the tools and equipment. If you're not sure what you need to finish the job, well, just call Roger and the crew today. They'll help you. 678-3122 at K&R Rental. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like precipitation is in our forecast off and on throughout the rest of the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies for today. We do have a slight chance of some rain showers as we move into the afternoon. Expecting a high of 59, a little bit on the breezy side. Tonight we are expecting a low around 40. For tomorrow, 80% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Expecting a high of 53. Winds out of the south-southwest right around 5 miles an hour for tomorrow night. Rain showers with a low of 39. By Wednesday, 30% chance of rain, mostly in the morning, partly sunny by the afternoon with a high of 57. Back to mostly cloudy skies with a high of 63 for Thursday. And as we take a sneak peek at Friday, maybe a 20% chance of rain showers, partly sunny skies, and a high of 64. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow, we're getting a lot of moisture and the threat of moisture over the next week. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, as I said. So easy to see right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. Roger and the crew get there early in the morning at K&R Rental. Number to call, 678-3122. I've got to start things off with a very, very important, this is not an April Fool's story. This is for real. Equine herpes is back, and another big threat for the state of Idaho. We're going to be talking about that in just a moment, so stay tuned. Don't forget, too, our friends at Daryl's Cleaners. And I want to remind you that Kevin and Cindy and the whole crew are always serving you with the absolute best of dry cleaning your clothes and washing your clothes. That's right, I said washing your clothes. If you don't have time and you're in a big, big hurry every week, they'll wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes just like Mama used to do. And all you have to do is take them in there, and they can and will help you at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And if you prepay, you get 10% off. You better stop in and see Daryl's Cleaners today. We also want to acknowledge, just about knocked that microphone over. Easy there, Zebra. Want to acknowledge also our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They, too, get there early in the morning at 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. Jared was over here the other day, did some work for us, does a great job. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, and let me see. Yeah, Deanne, thank you. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And like I said, the number to call, 678-0459, Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Deanne, not during this morning, but we'll set it up later on this week. Thank you very much. We're trying to do some personal setups on segments and everything, and we'll get that all taken care of momentarily. Deanne has been the biggest help to this program, helping me solidify a lot of the segments. Now, I want to get this on the air this morning because it is extremely important. If you may not know this, the following states have confirmed cases of what is EHV-1, which is the equine herpes. It's very dangerous. It's and can be very deadly. And I urge you to pay attention. Nevada, Arizona, and Idaho are the primaries. And all I'm going to tell you is that there was, according to a veterinarian that I talked to up at Idaho Equine Center in Nampa, I believe a horse brought back the disease while in Utah. So this thing could be pretty well spread if it's not handled correctly. So please, please pay attention to this. I know that many, many events were shut down. Some major team roping events. I'm talking major World Series. Caller, stand by. And high school rodeos canceled, etc. And I'll take this call, and when I come back, I'm going to give you the don'ts. Certain things that you don't need to do, okay? And we're going to talk about that in a minute. This is very important. It affects, like I said, high school rodeo. It affects horse shows. It affects the horse population in general, and it's very important. One of the things I will tell you right offhand before I take this caller is that don't allow people to come onto your property and go over to the pen and say, oh, pretty horsey and pet. No, because what they have on their hands you don't know, and it could be transferable. So keep people away from your horses, please. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. One of the things to do today is to go to the senior center on South Overland, Burley, and have beef stroganoff, spinach, and they'll have some mixed fruit and some yummy dessert.
Well, we'll send them over there, even though the yummy man is not quite sure what kind of yummy dessert they're going to have.
They haven't decided yet, but it'll be good if Debbie does it.
Okay. Debbie does it, it's good. All right. Well, Joe, God bless you. The Senior Center on Overland Avenue. Great menu. Thank you, sir. God bless.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I also want to acknowledge our dear friends at Rain for Rent. Hello, Jake. Jake was on the air with us, about 2 weeks ago and did a fine job. They're a Reinke Diamond dealer, and believe me, they've got a dedicated sales and service staff. They are really educated about irrigation and can help you with your spring irrigation needs. needs. Don't forget, handline, solid set, ring lock, main line available for rent. They've got it all at Rain for Rent. And they're located at 134 South, 600 West of Paul. Open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and they're there all the time, it seems like, to serve you. 438-5065. Rain for Rent. You get a hold of them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb Bell. How are you?
My friend, I heard you go by and honk about 97 times, and it's good to have you back.
Well, I didn't know how your hearing was, so I thought I'd better honk a few times.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm in the middle of a story, but I want to say how nice it is to have you and Nancy back here. And Deanne said yesterday, it's going to be nice to have you calling into the program and everything. So we appreciate it. Hope you had a good winter down in the sunshine part of the country, even though it got cold, and it's nice to have you back.
One other thing with the part you were talking about in Las Vegas, they had quite a measles outbreak.
Yes.
And so they were going to, I don't know how they were going to check, but everybody had to be checked for measles, if you were under, 16? Mm-hmm. And how in the world were they going to do that? I never did find
Well, I'll tell you something. This outbreak is going to get a lot more severe, and it's all through the incompetency of parents not vaccinating their children. I am very concerned, and we will, and I hope this doesn't happen, but Keith Cottom, I'm telling you straight up, we are going to see people die because of this, and the incompetency and the unknowledging parents that have caused this, they should be so ashamed of themselves.
I think they've already had 2 deaths in Nevada already.
Yeah.
So it is very serious. Measles, I can't remember when I had them, but I did. But it's pretty serious.
Absolutely. Keith, I want to tell you, you and Nancy, it's good to have you back. I'm loaded with things I got to get on the air this morning, but thank you for your call. It's really a treat to hear from you again.
It's good to hear from you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, sir. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland and Burley. They are and always will be America's Diner. 611 North Overland and Burley with Thomas and the whole crew. Oh, my goodness, good eating breakfast. I love breakfast, dinner, lunch, all of this available. They've got menu choices. Knock your boots off. Delicious. And like I said, they are America's Diner and the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. You stop in today, you'll see what I mean. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. You stop in and enjoy the delicious food today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. It is a good morning. A good thing about Donald Trump, you have to consider this fellow, our president, as kind of a savior. He came along and saved a dying nation. And I feel this next election that's coming up is going to be a landslide in his favor, because Democrats out there will be voting for him, especially the ones that have businesses, 401ks, any kind of retirement plans. They'll be voting for Donald Trump. So a lot of the stuff you're just talking about, this children's diseases and stuff, will all be taken care of.
Well, I certainly hope you're right, and we're going to be talking quite a bit more about it as the morning and as the week goes along. But Tony, I got to get back to this other story that's extremely important, because we're going to be seeing outbreak of a disease that could be extremely dangerous for all the horses, which is a big part of our Idaho ag economy. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But thank you for your call this morning.
Humans.
Yes, sir. Pardon?
Will that affect human beings?
I don't know if that herpes can affect humans or not. If there's, unless the horse bites or there's a saliva, I don't know. I'm going to do some more checking on that. Like I said, the EHV-1, I'm not that familiar with what it can do to human beings, but I'm going to find out about it. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
Okay, Zed.
All right, thank you. Here's some of the don'ts, and these are very important. Do not share water buckets. this with anybody else or anybody else's horse. Do not submerge the water hose in your bucket when filling. You know, it's easy to cram it down on the bottom and fill up. Don't do that because you don't know what the end of the hose has touched. Do not share tack, including halters, headstalls, bits, and brushes. Don't do that. Avoid nose-to-nose contact with your horse and other horses. You know, like you're standing around, maybe you're just waiting to go rope or compete, and they nudge each other's noses. Don't let that happen. Avoid unnecessary contact with other horses. Do not tie your horse to fences and rails where the other horses are tied. There again, you're just opening up all kinds of problems. Take your horse's temperature in the morning and at night. If your horse is running a temperature above 101.5, contact a veterinarian immediately, and thoroughly clean and disinfect trailers, stablings, barns, and other equine contact services. So in other words, if you put your horse, you're traveling, you're on the rodeo circuit or whatever, going to another area, and you're staying in a stall, whatever, take along some of the disinfectant, clean it, and thoroughly wash hands, footwear, and clothing after handling one horse or two or more, please. And contact state veterinarians for each state that you'll be traveling through or to. Now, I will say this, that the vet that I talked to up in Nampa that was basically in charge of the investigation of this horse up in the Boise Valley that brought it back to the state said that they think they can keep this thing fairly well isolated, and we're going to know in, in about 2 weeks. So I know there's been a lot of hardship and a lot of activity that's been stopped and stymied, but we're going to know in about 2 weeks just how serious, or if it's serious at all, with this equine herpes. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I have an appointment this afternoon at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I'm going to have to call them and see if I can maybe change that a little bit because I've got some other things happening, but I urge you to call Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. You know, they're the best at what they do with all the exercises and the hydrotherapy pool. They know how to help you get back to being you. Absolutely. Easy number to call, too, 678-1191. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists are there to serve you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Don't put it off. Don't put it off. You get over and see them today. Really, really good people. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I want to say this. I know some people are going to construe this as, oh, did you hurt your arm? You're patting yourself on the back? No, it has nothing to do like that whatsoever. I had some calls over the last couple of days, and some very, very nice people called and congratulated me on the caliber of people that we put on our radio program. And this is where you're probably going to take it as ego-centered. It's not meant to be. We are the only program in all the state of Idaho, and we've done a lot of checking on this, that absolutely devotes time and effort into getting national people on our program. National people with different national news stories or international news stories. Case in point, tomorrow morning, unless something happens and changes our schedule, at 10:06 tomorrow morning, we have a man that has been thoroughly investigated and in the middle of the Mueller report, Jerome Corsi. He is scheduled for 10:06 tomorrow morning. Then, unless something drastic happens and we can't have him on Thursday at 10:30, we are expecting to have George Papadopoulos. So, for those naysayers out there, you're just kind of a local hick talk show. No, we're not. We're on the internet, and we're heard all over the United States. We have a very, very large internet audience. I'm absolutely amazed back on the East Coast, New York, Washington, D.C., etc. And I am blessed by people that really help me get these guests on the air, including my lovely bride. And so those are a couple of the big names that will be coming up this week on our show. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Holy moly, it's back, the 47th annual Salmon Select Horse Sale and Mule Sale, and it's going to be on April the 11th, 12th, and 13th. My. They have got a great big ripping sale, as they have for many, many, many years. Fred Snook and the crew put it together at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon, 47th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale. And all things start on April 11th, and then on the 12th, the big Mule Sale, and on the 13th, of course, the great big Horse Sale. All of this and more at the 47th Annual Salmon Select Horse Sale at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon. Go on up. It is a happening, I guarantee it. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, of all the years that, and I'm a basketball junkie, I really am. I absolutely love collegiate basketball. I like good collegiate basketball. And this year, I think the NCAA tournament, the March Madness, was the best that I have ever watched for exciting, and I mean nail-biting games. If you're not a basketball fan, I was talking to a guy the other day, and he says, I'm not a basketball fan, but I got to watching some of these games, and wow, he says, it'll just make the hair stand on the back of your neck the way these games have ended. And the big names, the big colleges, your Kentuckys, your North Carolinas, your Dukes are gone. They're not in. They're out of there. And the Final Four is going to be this next weekend, and there's some new faces in town. Let me tell you, Auburn is going to be playing Michigan State, and then Virginia is going to take on Texas Tech. And then, of course, after the Final Four, the top two will play on that following Monday. So I'm telling you, exciting basketball games right down to the final seconds. And great college basketball. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I think I'll give away some cookies right now. Yeah, I think I will. And our cookies being sponsored by Sophie's Chatterbox. And, of course, they're located at 530 East Street on the square in Rupert. Great bakery. Phenomenal restaurant. Oh, you got to get in there. And they're waiting to serve you, so stop in and see them today. Sophie's Chatterbox on the square in Rupert. And if you're the lucky winner of our cookies, all you need to do is call them and let them know when you'll be coming in for your cookies. They'll have them ready for you, okay? Here's a easy question. You don't even have to think about this. Just give me a call at 436-2244 or 1-866-927-4587. Who played Tonto on the Lone Ranger TV series? Easy question this morning. Who was the actor that played Tonto on the Lone Ranger TV series? Boy, I know you're dashing to the phone, dialing the number, and we should have a ring any second. While I'm waiting for your call, I also want to remind you about Ark Animal Hospital. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't go away. Ark Animal Hospital, and they would be excellent for you to give a call to and ask about the equine herpes and everything. Dr. Bill and the crew, they are waiting for your calls, and all you need to do is give them a jingle at 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street, near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. And for this problem or any health issue with your pets or livestock, call call Dr. Bill and the crew over there at Ark Animal Hospital. It's a mixed animal practice, large and small animals. Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn, 678-1177, where they have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Talk to me, caller. Wheels, is there a call on that line?
There should be, sir.
Well, there's not. Caller, good morning. Are you there?
Jay Silverhead.
Say that again, please.
Jay Silverhead.
Did you say Jay Silverhead?
I did.
That's not the right answer. I'm sorry. Call back if you think of the right name. I'm sorry. Thank you very, very much. We'll take another call. Who was the actor that played Tonto on the TV series? Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Jay Silverheels.
Jay Silverheels is correct. What's your name?
Jim Roberts.
Jim, you just won yourself a dozen cookies, doggone it, and the deal is, if you like sugar cookies without any frosting, you got to share half of them with me.
Okie dokie, man.
Okay. Congratulations, Jim. You're the winner. And our thanks to Sophie's Chatterbox. Thank you very much. Calls are welcome at 436-2244. I hated not to give those cookies to that lady. She said Jay Silverhead, and it was Jay Silverheels. She was head over heels wrong there, but we've got it corrected with Jim Roberts. Thank you very much, Jim Roberts. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental Sales, Service, Parts, and they've got extremely good employment opportunities at their locations for mechanics and technicians. You better get a hold of them today, and don't forget all the retail equipment sales and equipment rentals at Barry Equipment and Rental. You need a Bobcat to go there, here, and everywhere and get the job done? Well, I'll tell you what, they've got all the Bobcats in all the shapes and sizes, and they've got a great big proving ground out behind the business to teach you how to run them, too. Barry Equipment and Rental, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and the Nampa location for Barry Equipment and Rental. Woo, we've been busy. Right now, the Democrats are not doing a very smart thing. Of course, what else is new? Adam Schiff, Swalwell, and others are, along with Gerald Nadler, making demands. You probably heard this over the weekend. Making demands that the Mueller report be given to them in full with no redactions by tomorrow, April 2nd. Well, let's just be really honest here. Number one, they can't. No. You can't release it in its entirety, full face, because there is information in there with grand jury reports and everything that are not open to the public, and they have to be redacted. You can't just hand it over to them. And it's crazy that the Democrats are making these kind of demands. And then it's also crazy to think that William Barr, Attorney General, would do or would stoop as low as to jeopardizing the last 2 years and millions upon millions of dollars in trying to change, alter, or derange that report. I have no respect whatsoever for the likes of Mr. Swalwell of California, along with Adam Schiff and others. I think they are nothing more than rabid dogs that are just trying to make this problem bigger, exacerbate the problem for their own personal gain and notoriety in the media. But the report will be turned out by April 15th. That is the date where Attorney General William Barr said it is going to be released. And you take Adam Schiff and Swalwell, they're like a dog with fleas. The fleas are very, very annoying. And that's what the Democrats are on this issue. They haven't got anything to stand on. They never did. And they just keep stirring the pot. When I watched Swalwell the other night on television get cornered like a rat, with some of the questions that were asked about him, calling the president a traitor, etc., he backed enough water to fill a canal. They are absolutely off base the way that they're handling this situation, and I hope that it will hurt them severely going into 2020. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you, so give us a jingle on the landline. Will President Trump close the border as of today? And I hope he does. I'm just going to be very blunt and honest. I hope that he closes the border by noon today. President Trump threatened last week on Friday he will be closing the border or large sections this week, I should say, in response to what Homeland Security officials say is a complete breakdown of border security. And it is. If you say anything else, you would be a liar. We are looking at thousands upon thousands of people knowing that this might be their last hurrah to try to jump the border and come in here illegally. And President Trump's had enough. He, and rightfully so, lashed out at Mexico, accused the country of Mexico of failing to stop the tens of thousands of Central Americans that are coming across Mexican territory right up to our borders, and then saying with a pointing of their finger in our chest, let us in or else. What are your thoughts? Now, there are those on the left, the Democrats, that, they still haven't got past Ned and the first grade reader, that are saying, well, he can't close that border. Why, that would be too expensive. Wait a minute. For any revenue that might be lost, underline that word and come back to it later, I know will be regained. But the security of our border is much more important right now than a dollar bill or groups of those dollar bills. And I think it's high time to close the border, get things figured out. What are your thoughts? Please, it's extremely important to you. It's extremely important to all of us. Close the border. Get their attention. Stop any and all border crossings as much as you can. See who's going to blink first. The Border Patrol is overwhelmed, and we as taxpayers, we deserve much better. Your thoughts, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, there's a gentleman that deserves a lot of credit for his study of the border and what's happening down there with the mess on the border and the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of illegals wanting to come in here or attempt to come in. They're estimating over 1 million. It's spooky. Over 1 million will try to come in this year alone in 2019. And that man is Frosty Woolrich. You know, it's really interesting to me. Frosty, 10, 12, 15 years ago, was compiling the numbers as to what it would be today, and he was spot on. Spot on. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Mexico is under control, not by the politicians, but by MS-13 and the drug dealers. And they want control of the United States. And as long as Mexico is under control of these people, we're going to have problems.
No, we don't have a problem. You're wrong. We are under siege. We're involved in a war. We are involved in an invasion. We are involved in a tactical mess by people that absolutely have no right to be here. We have groups of people like your cartels, etc., that are doing all they can to disavow any border whatsoever and keep coming across with drugs that are going to kill millions of Americans. We have no idea who the bad guys are coming across with weapons, maybe of mass destruction, to kill us. We're not involved in a future problem. We're involved in a mess right now.
One question I have is, how many of these people, MS-13 and the drug dealers, have disappeared into these terrorist training camps that we have, just waiting for the right time to strike?
You know, and Tony, I've been pushing, I just don't understand why congressmen and senators are so blatantly naive, almost bordering on stupid, that they can't understand that here in this country we are letting this flourish, we are letting it grow, we are letting it kind of turn into a cancer that's going to try to kill all of us.
Well, the thing of it is, when all hell breaks loose, we're going to be attacked from the northern border, the southern border, and the east and west with these terrorist camps you've got.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. Why? I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I hope that while I'm on this program this morning, and I mean this, I hope that while I'm on this program this morning up until 11 o'clock, and when I get off at 11, that means 1 o'clock Eastern time, I hope Donald Trump has made the overture to the American public that he's going to shut the border down, whether it's with the National Guard, the United States Army, whatever. Shut it down.
Well, this country belongs to us, not a bunch of foreigners. We're the ones that are supporting it.
We're coming up on April 15th tax day, okay? I don't know about you, Tony, but I don't want to pay anything to a government that's going to give most of my money away to people that are here illegally.
Well, the Democratic Party is going to see that's going to happen because they'll do anything to stay in power, even if it's wrong.
Absolutely. Appreciate your call back, Tony. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There are businesses, there are industries, and there are the people that run those businesses and industries that absolutely hate to think about a closing of the border. And there are those that absolutely don't like to have any talk about the closing of the border. But they are wrong. We need to make sure that we stay a safe, sovereign nation. And right now, we are not. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again. You know, this closing of the border, I think, is a good idea. I'd like to think of it as, let's take Zeb Bell, for instance. Someone who's heard of him or just heard about him, all of a sudden he shows up at your house with his whole family and says, where's all the beds I'm going to have? Where's all the food? It's the same darn thing, only it's on an individual basis.
Do you lock your door in the evening?
Well, my wife does.
All right. Well, you know, I'm not a dog chasing the tail here for a minute, Keith. If you lock your doors, the sanctity of the inside of your home is for protection. Why can't we as taxpayers have the same sanctity and safety at our borders about not letting the riffraff and the trash, which there's a lot of that is coming in, be kept at bay and not allowed into this country? It makes no sense to me to just have a come on in, come on all. It's free, and I'm sick and tired as a taxpayer of having to pay for the mess.
Well, when you see video clips of people just, you know, by the hundreds pouring in, how can they possibly process these people?
They can't.
And we just can't tolerate this situation. And a lot of people are angry because President Trump wants to quit sending these countries money.
Yeah, You know, you just touched on something that I'm glad you did, because I got to go to a weather forecast, but I want to get this in quickly. Here, the Democrats are assailing President Trump for cutting off the funding to these countries in Central America that are supplying all these people coming up here. Hey, I would call him this afternoon if I were Trump, and I'm saying no more money. You clean up your act, and then we'll consider more foreign aid. But the Democrats think that, just keep sending them money. I applaud Donald Trump for saying the checkbook is closed.
It's just like a college kid calling home and said, "That amount of money, I got to have more."
Yeah, there you go. That's a good analogy.
Same thing.
That's an analogy. Good one. Hey, Keith, I've got to run. I got to get a weather on. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Caller number 2, I'm going to ask your patience. Please do not go away. I'll be right with you, I promise. I've got to get this on. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Our weather forecast. I want to hear sunshine. I want to hear 70 degrees. I want to hear no winds. But I don't think that's what I'm going to hear. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, they are right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and the number for you to write down and call them and make an appointment today. If you've noticed a diminishment in your hearing, 312-0957. I'll repeat that number again, 312-0957. Excellent doctors of audiology that can help you and find the reasons as to why you're suffering from a loss of hearing. Call them today. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. And now here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like precipitation is in our forecast off and on throughout the rest of the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies for today. We do have a slight chance of some rain showers as we move into the afternoon. Expecting a high of 59, a little bit on the breezy side. Tonight we are expecting a low around 40. For tomorrow, 80% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Expecting a high of 53. Winds out of the south-southwest right around 5 miles an hour for tomorrow night. Rain showers with a low of 39. By Wednesday, 30% chance of rain, mostly in the morning, partly sunny by the afternoon with a high of 57. Back to mostly cloudy skies with a high of 63 for Thursday. And as we take a sneak peek at Friday, maybe a 20% chance of rain showers, partly sunny skies, and a high of 64. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Rain. Okay, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids brings us the weather this hour. Call them for a hearing screening today, 312-0957. Caller, you've been very patient. Thank you. You're on the air.
You're welcome, sir. How many people live up in the Boise area? What's the population? Do you have any idea?
My goodness. I'm going to estimate, and I hope somebody corrects me if they know the numbers, but I think that when you are you talking about Boise proper or the surrounding area as well?
Well, say Boise and Meridian.
Nampa?
Yeah.
I'm going to make an estimate that you're looking at well over 200,000, maybe 225,000.
Okay. So you times that by 5. You got over 1 million people.
Yeah.
1.2 million maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. At the rate they are coming across the border, we're going to have to build an area the size of the Boise-Nampa area times 5 every year.
Mm-hmm.
Every year.
And why should we?
And that is at the taxpayer's expense.
There you go. There you go. You know, what this country needs, Doug, and everybody cringes when people say this, and because they're so afraid of the Gestapo heavy-handed tactics of the IRS, we need a taxpayer revolt in this country until the politicians realize they just got slapped in the face.
Well, very true. They need to be responsible when they spend our money unwisely. Because you spend your own money. You look for the best value at the best price. When someone else spends your money, they don't care about the value and they don't care about the price.
You know, you work hard every week, and so do I. I'm an old man, and I'm still working, and I'm still contributing. And when we pay our taxes, I don't mind paying my taxes. Not at all. My accountant's listening right now this morning, and I hope he doesn't slip up on something I have to pay more. But if I have to, I have to. But when my money and your money is going towards frivolity and stupidity, it's time to have a taxpayer revolt.
It is. It really is. It is time to stand up and tell these politicians, do not spend our money on the sex habits of a swamp frog.
I know it.
Do not need a study of a shrimp on a treadmill.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many frivolous, stupidest things they spend the money on. I feel it should come out of their pensions and their...
Well, yeah, but it even goes deeper than that. It even goes deeper than that because we talked about this 3 weeks ago on the program. How... I underline that word and I ask you again, how can the government lose 37 Black Hawk helicopters?
Exactly. How did the State Department lose, what was it, 800 billion or 80 billion when Hillary was there?
Yeah.
They've lost it. They can't account for it.
And how do you lose... I think the number was like 400 and some buildings. I mean, buildings, Doug, we're talking about walk in the door with a roof over their head. Buildings they've lost. They can't figure out where they went or why the money was spent for buildings that they can't account for. And then I'm sitting here as a taxpayer and saying we're giving more without having any integrity of our money being used to a bunch of loons that lose 37 helicopters?
And a building does not move.
I don't think so.
I mean, how do you lose a building? A helicopter, you can move them. But, I mean, I can see misplacing your keys, your wallet, your wristwatch, maybe even your hat or coat. But I can't see misplacing a helicopter.
But what do we have as American citizens right now? Honestly, answer this question. What do we have as a kind of our right to arbitrate and or negotiate or to flat out pound our fist on the table and say no? We can't because the IRS will come after us and we'll be thrown in jail.
Yes, and that needs to change with the IRS. You are guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Yeah.
I mean, the IRS, and there are people that do tax evasion, and they should be prosecuted.
Absolutely, but then on the other hand, there has to be some kind of a test that says, okay, now wait a minute. You spent all this money, $23.6 million on the study of hamsters on a treadmill, or you claim that you can't find 37 Black Hawk helicopters, or you've spent money for all these kind of frivolous things. We're not paying another doggone dime to you until you start making accountability for what you've been given already.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have an audit.
Oh, my.
But one thing, too, real quick, and then I'll get off so the other caller can get on. But one thing I feel, we need to have a surprise test, like you do in school. It's a surprise test. We need to go to the representatives and the Senate and say, we're having a surprise test today. You guys are taking a civics test.
Oh, boy.
And if you do not pass this civics test, then you have to resign.
Oh,
representative.
I like this. Maybe we could get rid of Swalwell and Schiff and the rest of them that way.
You think about it. Some of the things they are saying and doing, they have no idea what the Constitution means and stands for.
I agree. Hey, Doug, I really got to get this other call and a commercial in, so real fast, give us your senior spiel.
Well, everybody, let's do what you can for the senior centers. I know I'm like a broken record, but by George, they built this country. They worked hard for this country, and they took care of us when we was young. So let's step up to the plate, and let's take care of them. God bless.
Appreciate it, Doug. Thank you, caller. I'll be right... No, I'm going to take your call right now, and then I'll go do the commercial. Go ahead, please.
Zeb, I'm sorry to change the subject here, but I have a question for you. Is there any vaccines for equine herpes?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. Now, there are vaccines that would lessen it, and I'm doing some more research on this, too, because I'm really afraid of this. And I'm going to be calling some vets that are hopefully going to be calling me on the program tomorrow, and we'll find out more. But as far as the EH1 herpes, I do not know if there's a vaccine that can be given carte blanche to lessen and or stop this. I don't know. I'm working on it myself because I don't think there is. I don't think there is, and I'm going to say that, Bert, with the idea that if somebody knows better, they can correct me.
The other question I have, is that contagious to other animals, livestock, or pets?
That's another thing that we're going to be asking about. This herpes virus, I have seen it and what it can do. I know personally of a horse herd of about 16, 17 head of horses that got it en masse, and they literally, there was about 4 or 5 they didn't think were going to live at all, and it's very, very, very dangerous. And I said I'm going to find out more about it. There's a lot of things with different diseases that I'm not going to stand here and say, well, this, that, and the other. I've got to learn more about it. I don't know if there's a definitive vaccine against it or if there's some kind of a vaccine to prevent it. I'm going to find out, and we'll put that on the air.
Sorry to bother you.
No, Bert, please. No, you're never a bother. I mean, the only person you ever bother is Elaine, and I'm taking her side.
I know that, so I appreciate you, Jim.
Okay, God bless you.
Thanks for the day.
Thanks, Bert. No, I'm going to stay on top of this, and we're going to ask a lot of the questions and hopefully get some answers. And I'm trying to figure out how tomorrow I'm going to figure out a time that we can do this, maybe within the first hour. Holy cow, I'm late. Spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my goodness, save money on all their top brand and name tires. The Eclipse, the Ultra Z900, the Open Country HT, the Open Country AT2. All of these tires, spring tire sales, save money and drive carefully. Absolutely. They, of course, also have the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, all of this, but above all, the best in service at their great big spring tire sale. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Center's got to run. Wheels, take it away. I have some updates on information. I'm going to give it to you right now in regards to the many, many questions we had on the equine herpes outbreak. Number one, I talked to Dr. Bill during the newscast. It is not transferable to human beings. It is not transferable to other pets and animals. And most equine owners that have vaccinated with the 5-way, like myself early in the spring for my horses, there is a part of the vaccination for the immunity to the equine herpes. And so evidently the horses involved did not get this, and that's why we're seeing an outbreak. So I just wanted to throw that out there really, really quick. Thank you to Dr. Bill for giving us a call. I want to remind you that Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a big spring tire sale. And, of course, our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call, please, 734-6969. Get on the route service. Once a week, they'll come by, get your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. These are the professionals. Western Way Services, always at your disposal. I want to remind you, too, about that great big Salmon Select Horse and Mule sale. It's coming up. It's coming up. Boy, don't forget that. Starting April 11th through the 13th at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon, 47th annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale. This isn't just a sale. It's a happen, and they've got all kinds of fun things going on up there. Starting on Thursday, April 11th, wolf howling contests, lots of social hours, Dutch oven dinners. Friday, of course, the great big mule sale. Saturday, the great big horse sale. We're going to be having Fred Snook on the air talking to us about more of the activities in the next day or so. Don't miss it. The 47th annual Salmon Select Horse Sale at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon. And real fast, my poor guest is waiting there chomping on the bit. I'd like to remind you, too, about our friends at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff serving you. Absolutely, they provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please call them, get more information, as we all should, on pre-planning of funerals. 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert with Joel Heward, and Joel also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and with us, the president of Americans for Limited Government, Mr. Richard Manning. Oh, my goodness, Richard Manning. Deanne just handed me a note, and this is extremely important to our conversation this morning, Richard. Adam Schiff. Congressman Adam Schiff has just announced he is leaving Congress for another personal career in Hollywood as a hairdresser. April Fool.
I kind of figured as much, but it's funny nonetheless. He actually represents just north of Hollywood, so he has a lot of Hollywood contacts, as his district is just anybody knows the LA area. It's just north of Dodger Stadium.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't help it. It was the evilness in me that made me do that to you this morning. I had to.
The way it would have been evil is if you hadn't said April Fool's and made me respond to it, because I would have sat there and thought that it was not true. But I would have had to take some kind of serious take on it. So anyway, it's given the fact the guy has no hair, although I guess some of the finest hairdressers in the world don't have hair. But anyway,
I'll let you paint yourself
today on this April Fool's Day, and it's we'll try to give your listeners the straight truth and not try to fool them in any way, shape, or form today.
Listen, I got to ask you, there's so many things going on in the news, and I just want to get your personal opinion on this. I'm just going to say this blatantly up front, I support Donald Trump in saying, if he does it at noon today or if he does it tomorrow, a closing of the border until we get some kind of sanity and security down there. What are your thoughts?
I don't think there's an alternative. We don't have the bed space to accommodate people. The Department of Homeland Security tries to run a small, basically a mid-sized city on our border, all along the border, housing 50, 60,000 people. And they don't have the bed space. Congress refused to fund the bed space that this president asked for. They deliberately squeezed the number of beds, knowing full well that you'd have to engage in catch and release once you hit a certain number of beds, and that's what's happening right now with reportedly another caravan of 20,000 people coming. That's the biggest one ever. So, the president has a duty, responsibility to protect our border. And if he deems it necessary to shut down the border, he will do so, and it will cause problems. There will be people on on the Mexican side of the border who currently are coming across the border, working and going back home, who are going to be hurt. There are people who employ those people on the American side of the border who are going to be hurt. There's going to be some agriculture products that we get from Mexico in the winter that we will not get from Mexico as a result, and so things like. So I read something that I don't know if this is an April Fool's joke or not, but I read that there would be an avocado shortage, for instance, within weeks if the border were closed. And that seems logical because I know we do import avocados from south of the border. So there are things like that that there will be some dislocation as a result. But the fact is, our system's overrun. Even Jay Johnson, the Obama's Homeland Security secretary, says that the system's overrun. It can't sustain what we're being hit with, and Congress's failure to do what the president asked, and their willingness to shut down the government for 35 days because they refuse to do anything about the border, indicates that the president has few options, and one of them is to say no. We're not allowing anybody coming across this border, through legal terminals. And that way we can then at least get a partial handle on the situation.
Let me ask you, Richard, I know that it's going to be a real mess by stopping, like you said, people that traverse back and forth for their jobs, their employment, etc. But you got to draw a line someplace. And right now, we are looking at a situation that's going to be exacerbated by maybe 1 million people this fiscal year, 2019, of trying to come in and jump across the border and say, I'm here, you pay for it, United States taxpayer. We got to do something. I don't know what the right answers are here or available, but what are your thoughts? We have to do something.
Well, ideally you have Congress actually being responsible, but that isn't going to happen. So, the president has very few resources at his disposal. He cut off funding for 3 Central American countries, in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, where we send them millions upon millions of dollars in the hopes that they will be able to use that money to enrich their own populations and make it so they don't come here. And those governments have essentially thumbed their nose at us and said, no, we're sending people north, and it's organized within those governments, these transports. So we're taking away their money as a result, and that puts pressure on those governments to actually do something. Shutting down the border really hurts the Mexican government, hurts it a lot more than it hurts us, and as a result, the Mexican government, which is basically giving people free passage through Mexico to come here, has to feel the pain of doing that, and that's one of the means that the president has at his disposal. Ironically, at the same time we're talking about this, the president has the USMCA deal, the trade deal that replaces NAFTA, which is a much better deal for America. And Mexico has signed it, Canada has signed it, and the question is, what happens with that trade deal in this particular environment, given the fact that we need to get Congress to actually pass it. So there are a lot of considerations at play here, but bottom line is we have an invasion going on in our country. It's an invasion that's organized by foreign governments and by cartels, and it's people from not just those countries, but from all over the world who are coming in. We had 2 months ago, it was 60 different nationalities came through our southern border from literally every place in the world. So we were. So we now have effectively the word is out. There's an open border, and we don't have any capacity to stop the traffic. And as a result of that, people are packing up from all over the world, and they're coming to America.
I don't see an ending to this story that is going to be kind of a copacetic ending for anybody. I just think that I, as an American taxpayer, you, everybody else, has a right to the sovereignty and the safety and security of a border that says we as taxpayers, we're footing the bill in this country, and we're not being protected, we're not being with any kind of security at all for our families and our future. This is where I think Trump has got to stand up, step up to the plate, swing the big Hillary Bradsby baseball bat and say, enough is enough. If he doesn't now, it's over.
Well, I think he is. I don't think I've ever seen any evidence that he's not trying to do that. The problem is, and this isn't a problem, it's the way our system works. Our system is not really good at adapting to crises. Mm-hmm. And in fact, if that crisis is something which, if you don't have agreement in Congress that the crisis should be dealt with, you effectively have the government is inert and unable to actually respond. The president has certain capacity to do stuff in terms of this. He's exercising as much authority as he can under the Constitution, and it is a real crisis. And the question could become, you get down to it. I'm going to say something that is, I'm not quite sure I'm there yet, but it's running through my head, so I'm going to say it. But this isn't necessarily a policy recommendation. I think it's something that needs to be considered. And that is, we know that most of human trafficking is being run by drug cartels. We know which drug cartels are doing it. It seems to me that declaring those drug cartels terrorist organizations and going after them using our military, as we would any other terrorist organization that's crossing our border and violating our laws, we go after them using our military. We tell Mexico we're going to do it, but we don't coordinate with Mexico because they're infiltrated by those very cartels. And we use that as a means to shut this down because the minute the cartels start feeling the pain and they start dying as a result of our military intervention, they will then look at the cost of engaging in the human trafficking business that they are engaging in as not being worth the reward. Secondly, we go after the money. We go after the bank accounts. We could basically shut them down on the banking scale. And we go after them like we would go after any kind of organized crime, terrorist organization. And we need to put the Treasury Department in play. We need to put not just DHS, but if we're going to go after the cartel, we need to go after them with actually military force and start letting them feel the pinch of being enemies of the United States.
I want to shift gears.
I just think there's, they've escalated the situation, and I don't think we can just sit there and let them do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to shift gears on another story in the time remaining here this morning. I want to get to two or three other items of interest, but I want to ask you about Uncle Joe Biden. It may appear that he might have stepped in it over the accusations. What are your thoughts about him inappropriately kissing and fondling someone?
Well, the internet is rife with pictures of him congratulating people and young women inappropriately, and the cringing look on their face as he kind of just is creepy. And in today's world, that is, it's not surprising that he's the least surprising thing in the world is that some woman stepped forward, in this case a Nevada state legislator, stepped forward saying that he was inappropriate. And he doesn't have any sense of what appropriate or inappropriate is, apparently, because he keeps, the internet's chock full of pictures of him basically making girls really uncomfortable. So it's he stepped in it. He's, the most interesting part is he hasn't announced a president, and the Democrats are trying to basically knock him out of the game before he ever gets in. And the suspicion is it's the Bernie Sanders people who are doing it.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's go to another subject, healthcare. Obamacare was a disaster. Obamacare is looking by the Republicans to be repealed. Is this something that you want them to get involved in, or back off, Jack, and leave this issue alone? What are your thoughts about the Republicans jumping head and shoulders into healthcare?
Well, the fact is there's a court case, and the federal district court in Texas found that Obamacare was unconstitutional because the individual mandate went away, and that was the constitutional underpinning that allowed the Roberts decision to find it to be constitutional. So the court rightfully found that Obamacare is unconstitutional. That means, and the U.S. Justice Department said, well, the court's right, so we're not going to oppose it. And so now we're going to be talking about health care, and the fact is we need to have a conversation about health care. The president was on, really gets this issue. He was pointing out that the average person's paying has a deductible of like $7,000 on their Obamacare health insurance policy. I guess the family has $7,000 deductible, which means you don't have health insurance with Obamacare. You pay money for it, but it's effectively catastrophic insurance at best. So there's a better way to do it. The Trump administration has already got associated health plans going where you have alternatives that will be able to be offered beyond Obamacare, and I believe they're going to be allowing for states to have a lot more flexibility in what they want to do in terms of offering health care. But ultimately, the Congress is going to have to do something, and Congress is not going to be able to have so we'll have a big fight about this in 2020, and whoever wins in 2021 is going to get to decide what health care is in America.
Absolutely. Since we talked last Monday, all heck has broken loose in Chicago with the absolute opening the door and telling Jussie Smollett, hey, you're as free as a pigeon on the roof. You can just fly away. 16 felony charges have been dropped. See ya. What in the world is going on here?
Well, we find out that there isn't white privilege. There's not black privilege. There's elite privilege. Jussie Smollett is connected to the Obama machine, and the Obama machine made a few phone calls and got him out. You sit there and we had all this outrage over a couple of parents paying some guy to help their kids get into schools, and everybody got all outraged. Well, this is the real outrage, and I don't care if you're white, blue, green, yellow, I don't care. Okay? If you commit a crime, you shouldn't get special treatment. And in this instance, it wasn't fancy lawyers or any of that. It was basically a phone call from Michelle Obama to her chief of staff to the prosecutor, and who received hundreds of thousands of dollars from George Soros to get elected. And and that person took care of it. The prosecutor made it go away. And now that prosecutor is under scrutiny from the Illinois Prosecutors Association, and potentially could end. And Jussie Smollett now is under scrutiny from the U.S. Department of Justice for the fake hate crime. And many in the black community, rightfully so, are upset that Jussie Smollett got away with this, because when one hate crime, by making a fake hate crime, he made it so actual legitimate hate crimes are not taken seriously. And so there are people in the African American community and other minority communities who are upset about the fact that he delegitimized hate crime offenses as a whole, and rightfully so.
I look forward to having you on Mondays and kind of go over this. So I got to end it with one short answer to this next issue with Bill de Blasio in New York. Of course, Big Bird Bill coming out with all kinds of things that are going to really hurt the populace of New York City. Now they're proposing a vehicle tax, and that's going to, I think, from an outsider point of view, really hurt all the transportation services trying to provide goods and services to the innards of New York City. What are your thoughts?
I think de Blasio basically is doing everything he can to deconstruct New York City, and the vehicle tax will be a disaster. I understand what the problem is. I've driven in New York City, but what they're proposing effectively will make it so doing business in New York City will be more expensive. Living in New York City will be more expensive, and you'll be trapped in New York City, unable to get out because you won't have vehicles to do so.
Absolutely.
So that would be so I think it's a mistake.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that by having Richard Manning on the air every Monday, he is basically our in-house detective that is going to be pursuing that rumor about Adam Schiff becoming a hairdresser instead of a congressman. He'll give us an update next Monday on the program.
Absolutely. I'll be right on it. I'll sniff it out for you.
President of Americans for Limited Government, my friend Richard Manning. God bless you, man. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. Thank you. I enjoy having him be a part of our program every Monday. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness. I got to tell you, the Minidoka Community Sale. Oh, this is going to be at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds and managed by Rogge Auction Company. Ooh, this is going to be a ripping good sale. Let me tell you something. All of this and more, and they're going to have farm equipment, guns, livestock equipment, loaders, and you better make sure you get your consignments called in right now for the spring community sale over at Minidoka County Fairgrounds. It's going to be on April 13th at 10 a.m., managed by Rogge Auction Company, Ron Rogge, Cade Rogge, Jade South. Number to call. I'll give you one number right now to call, and make sure you do call, 431-6187. It's going to be the great big Minidoka Community Sale, the spring community sale at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds, managed by Rogge Auction Company. Don't miss it. They really put on a good auction, too. They work hard. Right now, I also want to remind you about our friends over at Patterson's TV. You know, they've been with us now for a couple of months, and when we go and visit with Curtis and Lorena, they've got all the TVs, all the Samsung, the Sony, the Toshiba, and they've got all your electronic needs, you know, like your home theater systems. You can sit there and just relax, and video surveillance cameras, knowing that you're safe within your home. All of this and more at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. When are they open? Thought you wouldn't ask. Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Please stop in and see the best and work with the best. And they deliver and install right there in the Burley area. Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley, 678-6997. In just a few minutes, we're going to have our next guest on the air. I'm going to say his name is Steve Mosher. I'll stand corrected on the pronunciation of the name, but he's going to be coming on. Interesting subject, one of which I got to tell you, I don't know a whole bunch about. It's all about China trying to get your and my DNA. Stand by for that. Right now, I want to remind you, too, about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. My, Jeff and the crew. We had Jeff on the program last week talking about all the great buys on carpet and all the great buys on everything in the store at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. My goodness sakes, you stop in and just talk to the people that really care about the beautification and the comfortization of your home at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. And maybe you want to just kind of say, hey, it's time for some spring house cleaning. We're going to rip the old carpet up, get rid of it, and lay in new carpet. Let me tell you, they've got just rolls and rolls and rolls of new carpet. You stop and see them today. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Jeff and the crew serving you. Deanna, if you get a second, please come on in here. I need you to help me on something. And we're going to go to the phone line right now and introduce this guest, and hopefully I will say his name correctly. He is the president of the Population Research Institute and the author of the book, Bully of Asia, and that, of course, is Steve Mosher. Steve, good morning. Good to have you on the program.
Good morning, and just to let you know, you nailed the name. It's Steve Mosier. You pronounced it perfectly.
I was really torn between Mosher and Mosier, and thank you. I appreciate that. Your article really intrigues me with your book called, the title of the headline on the information sheet, What Does China Want with Your DNA? And that stopped me in my tracks because, boy, normally I am fairly well read, and I kind of consider that I know what's going on, but what's going on here with China wanting to know more about my DNA?
Well, China, of course, is trying to dominate the United States across all domains, and we think of that as being in matters of trade and economy and currency and cyber attacks and all of that. But they're also advancing on many high-tech fronts. They're advancing on the biotech front. And here's where we get to the DNA question. China's collecting the DNA on every person in China right now as we speak. That's 1.3 billion people. They've set up a massive DNA database that they're crunching with artificial intelligence, helped by some of our own companies, unfortunately. And they're trying to lock down everybody in China with the DNA analysis and retinal scans and fingerprints and blood typing and all the rest. So they know where everybody is at any given point in time. But they're also reaching overseas, and they're collecting DNA from millions, maybe tens of millions of Americans right now. This is part of what's called the China 2025 plan. The China 2025 plan to dominate 11 high-tech areas by the year 2025. And guess what? Biotech, genomics, the genetic analysis, DNA analysis is one of those 11 high-tech areas.
Steve, I'm sitting here listening to you talk about this, and I have so many questions like, what can they do? What can they develop that would hurt us as Americans? What are your major fears?
Well, I think there are two things they can do. The first thing they can do with all this DNA data, of course, is develop biotechnology and sell it to us on the cheap. They can dominate the high ground of biotechnology in the future. That's the economic side. But what's really worrisome, of course, is the possibility of weaponizing DNA. And remember, in China, everything is dual use. Dual use means you got the civilian use, but you've also got the military use. And what the Chinese Communist Party says is let the civilians support the military. So everything that they're looking at on the civilian side, if it has a military application, the People's Liberation Army gets it and runs with it. What they want with DNA is this. I believe they want to develop bioweapons that target specific kinds of DNA, maybe the kinds of DNA that you and I and a lot of Americans have.
I'm sitting here and I just don't understand, Steve, how are they getting this information and why all of a sudden is this cropping up as a major problem? Why weren't we, the American public, aware or at least made aware of this problem years ago?
Well, this has been going on for a while. The Chinese government has given billions and billions of dollars into the development of DNA analysis equipment. In fact, the Chinese now have the ability to analyze DNA faster and in greater quantity than any other country in the world. So they're ahead of us in terms of just the sheer ability to take DNA and break it down and find out what it's composed of. And the other thing they do is they buy American companies. They buy American companies, and when you get an American company, of course, you also get not only the technology of the American company, you also get all of the American DNA that company may have stored up over the years. So if you buy an American company that does DNA analysis, which China has done, you get the American DNA. The other thing that happens is the China price for analyzing DNA is very cheap. It's very cheap. Why is it cheap? Because the government is subsidizing it. They want to get their hands on our DNA. So a lot of, believe it or not, a lot of American hospitals, medical clinics, medical research organizations now send American DNA over to China to be analyzed because it's cheap and they get it back quickly. But what happens if you send something like that over to China? The Chinese government gets their hands on it. The law in China requires every company, even if it's supposedly private, there are no real private companies in China, by the way,
But even supposedly private companies are required under the 2017 Intellectual Espionage Act to turn over any information, valuable information, to the Chinese security sources. They're required, in fact, to work as an arm of the Ministry of State Security. So anything we send over to China, by the way, the DNA goes into this huge DNA database. That's another way to get their hands on it. And the third way is we send it to them. I mean, a lot of Americans have had their DNA analyzed. You've got to make sure, if you're going to have your DNA analyzed, which can be great fun for the family to find out where you're from and so forth, make sure the company you send your DNA to is not sending it to China to be analyzed, because if it's being sent to China, they'll know all about you from the inside out from now on.
Steve, are there going to be, in your opinion, a whole host of lawsuits? I mean, people should be outraged about this. Do they have any ground to stand on in trying to perpetrate or further lawsuits against this happening without their knowledge?
Well, I've read through all of the privacy statements of all of the companies that do, this DNA analysis. All of the companies that will tell you about your ancestry, where your people are from, what countries they came from, when they immigrated, where they live in the United States, and that help you find long-lost cousins. And all of them say that they guarantee the privacy of the information you send in. But many of them won't tell you where they send their DNA off to be analyzed. That's a red flag right there. I don't know what recourse we have. The other thing that happens is this. Even if you don't send your DNA to China, China is constantly engaging in cyber attacks. It's constantly trying to break down the firewalls of American private companies in all sorts of fields, including the biotechnology field. So even if your DNA is stored on a server here in the United States, who knows? It could be hacked. And what the Chinese are trying to do with it, of course, I think there are two things they can do. If they found out the DNA, say, of a leader, an American leader, and they broke down the DNA through DNA analysis and found out that this leader was susceptible to a particular kind of virus, maybe they engineer a virus targeting the leader and his immediate family. That would be a very effective way of doing what we call a decapitation strike on America. The other thing, of course, is that you have in China, the people in China have been on the North China Plain for tens of thousands of years. They're genetically very distinct from not just us, but they're distinct from the Koreans, the Japanese. They've been on their own piece of territory for a long time. So, would it be possible to bioengineer a very, very dangerous version of, say, smallpox that's easily transmitted, is fatal to other groups, but to which, say, the Chinese people enjoyed a natural immunity? We don't know that such a weapon exists, but if you can imagine such a weapon existing, if you're willing to spend enough time and money and resources on it, you can probably develop such a thing now. That's how fast biotechnology is advancing. And I will tell you what, I will put nothing beyond the realm when it comes to the Chinese Communist Party. This is a Communist Party that has, because of its one-child policy, eliminated 400 million of its own people over the last 40 years by forced divorce and forced sterilization. This is a Communist Party that has locked up now over 1 million Uyghurs, a minority in the western part of the country, and is forcing them to learn Chinese, to recite the sayings of President Xi Jinping, and to violate their own religious principles by drinking alcohol and eating pork. This is a Communist Party that's shutting down home churches and arresting home church leaders. I mean, you imagine a human rights violation occurring, and then you look at China and you see they're doing it in spades. So would they do it? Would they have any moral reservations about doing it? Of course not.
Steve, are you the only person in the village that stepped outside your home and are yelling foul ball, or are congressmen or senators? Are they aware? I mean, who else is leading the charge to make us more aware of this problem?
Well, this particular DNA issue is something that I've been working on for a long time. I formerly taught human biology at Stanford University. I know something about genetics. But a group of us got together this past Monday, formed the Committee on the Present Danger China. There was a committee on the present danger 30, 40 years ago, and the danger at that time was the Soviet Union. But guess what? The Cold War is over. We won. But there's a new Cold War underway between the United States and China. And so people like Bill Bennett, the former Secretary of Education, a lot of retired military officers, including Lieutenant General Boykin, people like Steve Bannon and myself have gotten together to alert the American people to the danger from China. And again, it's a danger across all domains. We hear a lot about the trade issue. Yeah, that's a problem. They're trying to gut our industry and transfer the center of manufacturing around the world to China. But it's not just trade. It's not just economics. It's not just cyber attacks. It's all of these other areas, robotics, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, DNA analysis, that we've got to worry about. They're coming at us across all fronts, and we need to be ready.
You know, Steve, the picture that you're painting is not one that's very cheerful. As a matter of fact, it's extremely dangerous and gloomy. Is the Trump administration, are they aware of the dangers of what's happening here? Are they being alerted? Are they being educated? And will the Trump administration, in your opinion, if they're reelected in 2020, do something about this?
Well, I'll tell you what. Till the election in 2016, I was pessimistic about our prospects as a country because I saw China advancing on all fronts, and I saw no organized resistance at all, no awareness on the part of the past administration of the multiple dangers coming from China. Xi Jinping, the president for life of China, would visit Washington, D.C., and the former American president would say, "Oh, you must stop your cyber attacks." And Xi Jinping would smile and say, "Oh, of course we will stop our cyber attacks." And of course the cyber attacks continued. There were no consequences. Former president would look at Xi Jinping and say, "You must stop building and militarizing artificial islands in the South China Sea." And Xi Jinping would smile, his slow smile, and say, "Of course we will do that." And of course they're continuing to militarize those islands and try to drive us out of, and the Philippines and Vietnam and Indonesia out of a giant body of water that should be internationally owned. So we're now taking real action. We're now doing real things to strengthen our military, to stop the transfer of technology to China, and to be aware of the threat that China poses to not only the United States, but to the rest of the free world. The fact is, they have been in a Cold War with us since 1991. I know that because we have a record of a conversation that the leader of China in 1991, Deng Xiaoping, had with his senior leaders. And what he said to them was this: the old Cold War is over. The United States has defeated the Soviet Union. That was the year that the Soviet Union collapsed. And then he turned to his senior leaders and said, but a new Cold War has now begun between China and the United States, and we're going to win this one. So guess what? We've been in a Cold War with China for the last 28 years. We're now beginning to realize that. You know, when your enemy says you're at war, you're probably at war whether you want to be or not.
You know, Steve, I've got to ask you this. Politically, the Democrats keep yelling, Russia, Russia, and everybody seems to be so afraid of Russia, but they don't seem to be the bad guy in the room playing poker with all the chips. Right now, I would say that China's the one to worry about, but why is the Democratic Party so quick to point their finger and condemnation of Russia as the major country to be worried about?
Well, that's just a big distraction, and of course we're now seeing their little Russia bubble is now burst and has revealed, the fact that Putin really has no clothes. I mean, look, he's got nuclear weapons, but Russia's really just a gas station. That's the only thing they have to sell to the world is natural gas and petroleum products. Other than that, they've got an economy smaller than the economy of New York State. So over the long term, I mean, they're the threat of the past, right? They're the threat of the 20th century. 20th century is now over. They're a spoiler in places like Syria, but they're not going to be a major geostrategic global competitor in years to come. They're fading. They're fading. China is the threat of the present and the threat of the future. It's the threat that they're the present danger. That's why we set up this committee on the present danger of China. We have to be aware. And you ask about the Trump administration. We've got some good people in the Trump administration. The National Security Advisor, John Bolton, is aware of the danger from China. Peter Navarro, who's the director of the Office of Industrial Policy, is aware of the danger of China, has written some good books on China himself. Larry Kudlow, the economic advisor to the president, is aware of how China cheats on trade and well, it cheats in any way it can to gain this advantage over us. So we've got some very, very clear-eyed people in the upper echelons of the Trump administration who are dealing with this problem head on. It's past time that we do that. If we had gone into another administration, like if the Obama administration had a third term, this might well be over. This contest might well be over by 2025. Remember the China 2025 plan to dominate high tech by that year? It might well have been over because we would have sleepwalked into second place. We would have been eclipsed by China forever.
Oh my!
And make no mistake, this is for all the marbles. If China gets in a dominant position in the world, they will never let it go. So but I'm much more optimistic now about the way things have been going over the last couple of years. And at the end of 6 years, more, I think we will have put China, if we continue on the present path, into a permanent second position in the world. And that's we want to keep them.
We have a caller with a question, and caller, I'm going to ask you to make it brief because I'm running out of time. Go ahead fast, please.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but America's natural resources and the new abundance of oil that we have found, natural gas, and other resources from the earth that China needs, we buy a ton of their stuff, but China will do just about anything to gain control, and they're capable of anything, including terrible evil. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, if you would, please, sir.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. America is very blessed with natural resources. China knows that. That's why they'd like to turn us into a source of raw materials for their factories and oil, petroleum, to run their cars and their trucks and other equipment. They'd like to move the center of the world's manufacturing to China. You may have heard the phrase the Belt and Road Initiative or the New Silk Road. That's an effort to move manufacturing to China and then consume the world's raw materials, consume the world's energy, and then sell finished consumer products to the rest of the world. That's China's vision for the future. That's not a future world. That's not a future world I want to live in. That's not a future world I want my children and grandchildren to live in. And so I think we have to be aware of the danger. The caller is absolutely right. China has no moral compunctions whatsoever about doing anything it takes to dominate the world. In fact, a couple of senior colonels in the People's Liberation Army 20 years ago wrote a book called Unrestricted Warfare. Restricted warfare means you can lie, steal, you can do anything you want, as long as it advances the goal of making China the number one power in the world. Are off the table now. It is a no-holds-barred fight to the death in the view of Beijing. And in China, they say, if this is a contest, they say, we live, you die. This is how you say it in Chinese.
Wow. I'm sitting here, and I got to admit, I've got sweaty hands. New situation to worry about even more. Steve Mosher, with the president of Population Research Institute and author of the book, Bully of Asia, Why China's Dream is the New Threat to World Order. I've got to get that book. Where is it available? In all major bookstores?
Absolutely. You can also get it on Amazon. If you want an autographed copy, go to our website at pop.org. That's pop.org, and I'll be happy to send you one.
Steve, I'm going to ask you if you'll please come back in the future. You're a very educated guest on this subject, and I really would like to have you back on.
Well, I look forward to it.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Stephen Mosher, as I said, author and the president of Population Research Institute. Scary about our DNA going over to China and exactly how powerful China is. And yet the Democrats and everybody else says, Russia this, Russia that. And look at what's going on right now, right in plain sight with China. Literally trying to take over leadership of the world. We've got to get a weather forecast on here really, really fast. And the weather brought to you by our friends at Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. Right now, they are busy. This is their busy time of the year. Tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, retirement planning, all of this and so much more by people that are the professionals in serving you with the best of accounting services. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Looks like precipitation is in our forecast off and on throughout the rest of the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies for today. We do have a slight chance of some rain showers as we move into the afternoon. Expecting a high of 59, a little bit on the breezy side. Tonight we are expecting a low around 40. For tomorrow, 80% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Expecting a high of 53. Winds out of the south-southwest right around 5 miles an hour for tomorrow night. Rain showers with a low of 39. By Wednesday, 30% chance of rain, mostly in the morning, partly sunny by the afternoon with a high of 57. Back to mostly cloudy skies with a high of 63 for Thursday. And as we take a sneak peek at Friday, maybe a 20% chance of rain showers, partly sunny skies, and a high of 64. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Range.
Gina, thank you very much. And brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. I tell you what, they are busy, and rightfully so, because they are the best at what they do. And they can help you, your family, and your business. Please remember, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Wow, we're running a little bit late here this morning. I want to also urge everybody to remember our friends at Let's Ride. Oh, my goodness sakes. We're drawing up on some hopefully better weather to where you can get up in the hills and enjoy the best of what Idaho has to offer. Well, check out all the four-wheelers at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Let's Ride. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. All the four-wheelers, all the accessories, and they've got the benefit of a great service department with Tyson and the crew, making sure that you keep on running at Let's Ride. Stop over and see them today. It's definitely where the fun is sold. Let's Ride. Holy cow, what have we got coming up next hour? More of interesting people. Now, we did have a change in our legislative update, and I understand that the Medicaid issue has really engulfed all of our representatives and our senators this morning, and we're going to have with the Idaho Farm Bureau for the legislative update, Brandon Jensen. I'm going to find out more about this gentleman and a little background during the 10 o'clock news, but that's going to be part of our Idaho legislative update at 10:30 this morning. At 10:06, we have a lady by the name of Sally Pipes, and she's going to be talking about the dangers of single-payer health insurance Medicare. We're going to find out more about her at 10:06. Want to remind you, too, about our great friends over at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I mean, all the retirement planning, employee benefits, health insurance, life insurance, they are there to serve you, and serve you they do. Dedicated and responsive to your needs and very accessible. That counts. They're really there to serve you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. All they ask is that you call, make an appointment at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. I've got to grab my little list here of public service announcements, and I want to remind you of a couple of quick things. Number one, great big team roping school going on up in Meridian, May 31st, June 1st and 2nd, put on by the legends, Jake Barnes and Clay O'Brien Cooper. Call Dave Stucker for more information at 208-866-3444. Don't forget that. Then, here's one I want you to put on your calendar. It's coming up on April 20th. It's going to be a benefit dinner for J.R. Strunk. J.R., our dear friend, has been diagnosed with cancer, and it's about time we all stepped up to the plate and helped him because he's helped so many others. It's going to be at the Rupert Senior Center in Rupert. It's going to be from 4 to 6 p.m., and they're going to have a raffle and all kinds of tickets for a .22-250 rifle. And, again, for more information, contact George Mass or Les Wilson, and that's going to be a benefit dinner for J.R. Strunk. Good guy. Really good guy. We're going to take a break right now and come back in about 7 minutes with more Sally Pipes and then also the legislative update right here on Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday, April 1st. Yeah, I know, April Fool's Day. Have a good one. I'll be right back. May have mental health issues. She's a loon. Oh, my goodness sakes. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations involved in a big spring tire sale right now. And, of course, don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind you, on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and our big thanks go out to our sponsor of that segment on Thursdays at 10:10, A Child's World at 1308 Overland and Burley, a family store with all the different baby furniture and the baby clothing, and of course all the Cherokee scrubs and all the different games, puzzles, and toys, all of this and so much more, and they free gift wrapping for you and your gift giving at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. Let's go to the phone line right now, and I had this lady on. It's been quite a while ago, and I'm looking forward to having her back this morning to discuss Medicare and the liberal left assumption that one size should fit all. Sally Pipes, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, and it's nice to be back on with you.
Well, it is my pleasure, and I got to tell you that right now I am really getting madder by the day as to listening to politicians with their wingtip shoes and three-piece suits tell me that everybody should have the same Medicare. One size will fit all. It's a lie, and it's about time somebody started blowing holes in their screen door. What are your thoughts?
Well, absolutely. And last year, in 2018, I published a book with Encounter called The False Promise of Single-Payer Healthcare. And now I'm working on a much larger book for publication in January of 2020 called False Premise, False Promise, The Disastrous Reality of Medicare for All. So we have Bernie Sanders, of course, who's been on a roll since 2016 when he was running against Hillary with his single-payer plan. Then in 2017, he brought out Senate Bill 1804, Medicare for All. And he's probably going to bring out a new single-payer Medicare for All bill in the next few.
Let me ask you this, Sally. Why do the Democrats, why do they want to saddle this horse and ride it all the way till the 2020 election? Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, whomever, in trying to spout off to the American public that they have all the answers with a one-size shoe is going to fit everybody. It's going to be the ruination of our healthcare system in our country. It's going to absolutely destroy Medicare. Why can't the American public see through this?
Well, they should be able to, and this is the thing, Zeb, that is so important for people like me and like you, and many to, write op-eds, do radio, talk radio, because I'm Canadian. I grew up under single payer. The average waiting time in Canada today from seeing a primary care doc to treatment by a specialist, 19.8 weeks. That's about 5 months. hidden taxes, $13,000 a year for ration care. And as you said, if we get Medicare for all, the people who will really be hurt are the people on Medicare now, because care will be rationed to those people. So we have to make this the case. It'll mean ration care, long waits, higher and new taxes, and a doctor shortage, which of course will happen because the best docs will retire early or and move to another profession, and the best and brightest kids are not going to go into medicine. But I think this is all about the very progressive liberal mentality that government is the only organization that can provide health care. And of course, it's part of their whole entitlement society idea. And it will be a total disaster, just like it is in Canada and like it is in Britain under the National Health Service, where they have tremendous long wait, a shortage of doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals of 100,000 today. The cancer wait times are the longest ever. They're way outside the boundaries of what should be available to people. So we have to make the case that this will mean, ration care, long waits for the American people. And when you look at the poll numbers, the latest polls from Kaiser, 56% of people say they support Medicare for all, 71% if they say Medicare for all and it being a right. But when you ask them, well, how do you feel if you have to have increased taxes and that you will lose your private insurance, that support goes down to 37%. Of the 170 million Americans who have employer coverage, most of them don't understand Medicare for all means all private coverage is banned and they will lose their private coverage. So these are very important things that have to be brought out and explained.
You know, Sally, I'm going to blame a major segment of our society as the perpetrators of this hoax, and I really don't know what we can do to change it. And those perpetrators of this hoax are the media. Absolutely, whether it's ABC, NBC, CNN, it doesn't make any difference. They are all in this, they're all in bed together, and they all do not have any journalistic value as to investigating and giving the American public the honest answers. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, whether it's the Washington Post, the New York Times, or, mainstream Bloomberg radio, they all are saying this is a solution to, higher health costs. This is the solution. Well, it'll mean healthcare costs will not go down because there's a cost to having ration care and people being on waiting lists. In Canada, they just costed out the cost of waiting in terms of people's poor health and non-access at $2.1 billion a year. So there are costs that are financial and there are costs that are costs to do with your health. And the mainstream media is absolutely the worst. They won't. As President Trump calls the media, the mainstream media, fake media, they are just perpetrating this idea. And I think that's why in the polls that the support for a single payer is so high at the moment, because the mainstream media, and they don't know. They never say, well, your care will be rationed. The older you are, the less likely you will have access to care. And I think the worst is if the best and brightest kids don't go into medicine because they will be employees of the government. Doctors are going to be paid under Bernie's plan, under Jayapal's plan, under what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, 40% below what they get paid today, because docs will be paid Medicare rates. And as you know, a lot of people who turn 65 can't find doctors because docs won't take them because of those low rates. So we're going to destroy the medical profession. We're going to destroy our health care. And this has become the big issue. Health care, I think, will be the number one issue in the 2020 election. And the progressive liberals, American socialists, Democratic Socialists of America, they are all supporting this idea and trying to build status for the 2020 election. Some of them, of course, have backed off a bit from Medicare for all, and they're using stepping stone approaches. Debbie Stabenow, senator from Michigan, Medicare at buy-in at age 50. And some of the others have Medicare for America, where there would be a public option. So, but eventually, private insurance would be crowded out, and we'd all be left in Medicare for all single-payer system. So, Bernie Sanders wanted right away, and in 2020, they're really pushing to win the presidency, the Senate, and the House. And then we have a few other more moderate ones. And it's interesting that Nancy Pelosi seems to be moderate. She's got her own proposal out there, which is building on Obamacare, which, of course, would also be a stepping stone approach. But she's very nervous of running on Medicare for all for 2020. full out right now.
You know, Sally, I hate to sound simplistic over this, but bear with me. If we would go back to a supply and demand and a competitive spirit of insurance companies in this country, state by state, interstate, etc., we wouldn't have this absolute obscene problem with Obamacare and the furtherance of a Medicare one-size-fits-all. Am I wrong?
No, I mean, absolutely. We need competition. I mean, isn't it interesting that while the Republicans were not able to repeal and replace Obamacare prior to the 2018 election, they had the presidency, the House and Senate. They weren't able to do it. But President Trump has introduced some good rules, such as short-term limited duration plans, where individuals could purchase a plan for 12 months, renewable up to 3 years, association health plans where small businesses and sole proprietors could band together and get insurance that, will fit their needs and those of their families. But, Judge Bates just ruled in the D.C. District Court last week that the AHPs, had to be struck down. Judge Boasberg, also in the D.C. District Court, ruled that the Medicaid work requirements, were illegal. In California and in New York, short-term limited duration plans have been outlawed. So we need competition. We need all of these kinds of things. And, when the Democrats are saying, all these ideas, short-term limited duration plans, association health plans, health reimbursement accounts, they're all junk insurance, they're sabotaging. They're actually opening up the market so people have more choices.
Sally, what is the matter, in your opinion, with our congressmen and senators? I've criticized them for a long, long time on this program, and here's more reason to criticize them. I don't know if they're just blatantly stupid or if they just don't take the time to inform themselves to better serve their constituents. What is it?
Well, I think one of the things is that healthcare is very complicated, and I think a lot of members of the House and the Senate and people in the state houses, they really wish healthcare would go away, that they wouldn't have to deal with it, because it is complicated, and they need to sit down and understand it. So that is one thing that I think is very important. And they need to be, pushing for competition, new ideas like health savings accounts, which put doctors and patients in charge of their health care. But they're afraid. I think they're afraid of it. They think it's complicated. And then they also, in many cases, they're afraid that if they do something radical and that is competition, they might not be reelected. And so this is all part of it. I think in the 2018 election, a lot of the Republicans running, they were afraid to stand up and say, you know what, pre-existing conditions, which I think is one of the reasons why the Democrats took the House back, the Republicans should have said, no, there aren't 120 million Americans who would lose their coverage. Because most of them, except for 6 million, have employer-sponsored coverage, and they can't have their insurance taken away, and they couldn't have the price of their coverage raised. So the 6 million people who do have pre-existing conditions are in the individual market. What the Fed should have done was provided funding to each of the states to set up high-risk pools that work so that these people could get coverage, and that the younger people wouldn't be having to subsidize older and sicker people, and that they should be able to get the kind of insurance that suits their age bracket and their situation.
Let me ask you this, Sally, and we've touched on it briefly earlier, but I want you to expand on it. When you talk about Kristen Gillibrand or bug-eyed Cory Booker or Kamala Harris, Bernie, etc., what's in it for them? I mean, these people are not that lack of intelligence. I mean, some of them have got some smarts. Why are they purporting to really want to push this one-size-fits-all? Why? What's the reason?
Well, I think it's partly because in the back of their mind, they have a vision for American society, and they want government to provide, whether it's housing, college, health care. They want government to be in charge, and they believe in the entitlement society. And when you look at young people today and how they are voting in favor of, free health care, free education, free college education, it's because they've been inundated with this kind of information, whether in K-12, in their colleges, whether they go to Harvard or Yale, or Princeton or UC Berkeley, but these people have a vision that, remember Hillary Clinton in her book, It Takes a Village? Well, that village for these people is government, and they want government to do everything for us. And, government doesn't have money. As you know, government only has the money that we, the taxpayers, pay in taxes, or they run large deficits. But this is not the way to build an entrepreneurial society, which America has always been. Remember, in the State of the Union, President Trump looked right at Senator Bernie Sanders and House member Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and said, America is not a socialist country. We have to stop this push to making America a socialist country. And Kamala Harris from California, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, Kristen Gillibrand, Bernie Sanders, all these senators are pushing this. But the American people deep down know it is not the kind of society they want, and we have to make sure that they understand that through shows like yours, other radio shows, TV, op-eds, and really make sure that there's a counter voice to the mainstream media and what they're saying.
Sally, one of the items in one of the sections of the Medicare one-size-fits-all type program, and proponents, they never want to talk about this very much, but research, medical research, I think, in my opinion, from my studies of this issue, would absolutely go into a tailspin and a nosedive to the ground and crash, because I think medical research on cancer and any and all of the diseases dangerous to mankind, the funding wouldn't be there, the doctors wouldn't be there, the innovative thinkers wouldn't be there. My goodness, that's a world that I don't want to live in.
Right, exactly. Well, you're absolutely right. And, it's interesting that most of the innovations in drugs, in treatments, in biologics for cancer and Alzheimer's, all of these diabetes, all of these diseases, all of that research is done in the United States, whether it's a country that's based in a company that's based in England, like GlaxoSmithKline, like Roche in Switzerland, like Sanofi in France. These countries all have price controls, which is what Bernie Sanders wants, what so many of these liberal politicians want. But you can't do research and do innovation into the latest drugs if you have price controls. So it's all done in America. So we need to keep the marketplace open so that the innovation is there, so that we do have the best treatments and drugs. It costs about $2.5 billion from an idea to getting a drug through all the trials to market, and about 1 in 10, only 1 in 10 drugs actually one makes it to the market. And then when you look at what Bernie's plan, they never talk about Jayapal. They never talk about how much it would cost and how it would be paid for. But his plan, costed out by the Urban Institute and by Charles Playhouse at Mercatus, $30 trillion over 10 years. That's $3 trillion a year, which is what we're spending already on healthcare. And we know that when people think something is free, they will demand a lot more of it. And when Bernie adds in free long-term care, free drugs, as Jayapal did, it's even going to be more than $3 trillion or $30 trillion over 10 years. And this is why it'll cause huge tax increases and is really going to hurt the access to health care. That America, people come from all over the world to get access to the latest treatments and procedures here. 63,000 Canadians cross the border every year and come into the U.S. to get an MRI, a CAT scan, a stent, whatever, because the waiting time in Canada is too long in the interest of their long-term health.
Sally, why aren't more people like yourself, and yourself included in this next statement, why aren't you going on a face-to-face, nose-to-nose type arbitration with these people like Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris, and really posing questions to them that they can't back up any statements and they can't back up any information because they don't know? Why aren't more people confronting these people?
Well, I'm trying. I probably do 2 to 3 radio shows a day. I write, a column for Forbes biweekly, for Washington Examiner biweekly. I'm going to be doing a weekly column for Fox. So many people on our side need to do so much more. And it was interesting. I was invited to do a debate at University of California, Berkeley in March on single payer. They couldn't get one of the professors at Berkeley to debate me. This is a problem because they know if people are competent on my side, that they can't stand up to a debate because the answers aren't there. So they just want to pontificate without actually telling the American people the truth.
You know, the whole thing boils down to, and I know that I'm encompassing some other subjects into this statement, Sally, but we're talking about infanticide after a full birth, where they have the option of saying, oh, let's kill the baby. And then on the other side of the scale, we're looking at the elderly, to where we're almost creating a hemlock society of only the fit survive. That's what it's starting to look like to me. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the whole issue, of when is a live birth, and can it be ended once it's been born? I mean, these things, are terrible. And then the whole thing about, seniors being denied care. I mean, let's let the market work, and we don't need government to be making these decisions. These decisions are decisions that should be made between families and doctors and parents. And but as I keep saying, the view of the progressive liberals is that doctors, patients, families should not be making these decisions, and government should. If you look at the National Health Service in England, if you're an elderly person, you're a senior, they have what they call the quality adjusted value of life. So if there's a drug out there or a procedure that will help you to survive, but it costs more than what the government under NICE decides is the value of your life, it's not accessible to you. I think the same thing, they're trying to do the same thing in the U.S. under ICER. This research organization is adjusting, what government considers as a value of your life compared to the cost of providing a treatment. And this is a whole new way of putting government more in charge and taking away our individual rights.
Absolutely. Sally, I've got time for one quick question. I'm down to a minute and a half. Caller, real fast. Go.
Well, the liberals, the Democrats, are counting on people to be uninformed and ignorant. And, when we as a republic do not know better, we will be sucked in. And their motives are far from right, from noble. And we can't trust them ever. But you see, when we're surrounded by fools, they could take us anywhere and someplace where I don't want to be. I'll hang up. Thank you.
Respond to the caller quickly, Sally. Thank you.
No, absolutely. He's absolutely right. But, it's our responsibility to educate the American with the truth and the facts rather than lies. What does single payer mean in terms of taxes, in terms of shortage of doctors, in terms of ration care, in terms of long waits? Because if the American people understood that, they will decide that this is not the way they want their healthcare system to go. They want choice, they want competition, because that's what brings the price down and gives more people the option to get what they need for themselves and their family.
Absolutely. Sally Pipes, President and CEO of the Pacific Research Institute, a lady that I highly respect for her coming on the program and really laying out the facts. Sally, come back soon, please. I appreciate it.
I shall. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Excellent, excellent lady, and she knows about how dangerous a one-size-fits-all Medicare system would be. Don't ever fall for the Democrats with their lure saying it'd be the best thing for America. It would be disastrous. Right now, I want to remind you about our dear friends over at Dino's Septic Service. My goodness sakes, the septic tank pumping. You don't want to stand out and do that. No, you don't want to be in charge of liquid waste removal or cleaning out sewer and sink drain lines. Oh, no, call them. Call them. That's what they do for a living with a smile on their face. Dino's Septic Service. Fast, fair, friendly service. Call them at 436-6526 or in Burley, 678-1638. Absolutely, they've expanded their business to better serve you. Remember the name and call them. Dino's Septic Service, with that great big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Coming up in just a few minutes, we are going to have a little bit of a change that I want to say thank you to Senator Kelly Anthon for getting this change. We're going to have Braden Jensen Deputy Director of Governmental Affairs, Energy and Natural Resources with the Idaho Farm Bureau, on our program for the Idaho Legislative Update. That'll be coming up after the break at the bottom of the hour, so stay tuned for that. Tomorrow, as I said earlier, at 10:06, we're going to have Jerome Corsi from the Mueller investigation, and he's going to be on at 10:06, so don't miss that. Right now, we're going to send it over to Wheels. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
And a good morning for our last half hour on our program this morning. April Fool's Day, April 1st. And, of course, we go right to the legislative update, and it's sponsored by Handy Truck Lines at 400 West, 100 South of Paul. And our thanks go to Clay Handy, the entire staff. They have been with us now for the last 2 years in sponsoring our segments with the Idaho Legislative Update. And, of course, Handy Truck Lines, over 90 years of transportation services to all over the Northwest. Thank you, Handy Truck Lines. I understand that with us this morning, and Wheels, do we have the gentleman on the air? Is he on the phone? Hello, is this Braden Jensen with the Idaho Farm Bureau? Braden, are you there?
Yes, I am. This is Braden Jensen with Idaho Farm Bureau Federation. How are you doing this?
I'm good, but if you're on a speakerphone, turn it off and go to a handheld because you've got too much of an echo problem. Please go to a handheld phone.
All right. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better. Thank you. Braden, give us a little background of who you are, what you do.
All right. Well, I appreciate being on the air this morning and the opportunity to talk with you. I'm Braden Jensen with the Idaho Farm Bureau Federation. I've been with the Idaho Farm Bureau this is my fourth legislative session. I'm the Deputy Director of Governmental Affairs, and so we work really closely with the Idaho Legislature, particularly at this time of the year, to help them, particularly as they draft policy that would affect our Idaho farmers and ranchers and producers throughout the state. The Idaho Farm Bureau has more than 80,000 member families throughout the state, and we have a policy development process that gives us our stance and our positions on the legislative issues that the legislature brings up each year.
All right. Braden, I'm going to ask you this to start things off. I want to talk a little bit about energy and the Farm Bureau concepts and also what's going on in our state. I think it's a mistake, and I want you to tell me if you think I'm wrong. I've got big shoulders. I think it's a mistake to put a lot of our background and thrust into solar and wind when we have right now the richest oil and fossil fuel supplies of anywhere in the world. To me, it's a slap in the face for inventive and ingenious people that really understand energy. We have the cleanest energy sources in the world today, right here in our United States. Why are we looking at something that is so unreliable as wind and solar?
I think that's an excellent question, Deb. I really do appreciate it, and I think our members appreciate that as well. We also appreciate the natural resources that we have, not only in the state but in the country. And I think it's important that we recognize those things, particularly as we look at how are we going to energize our future in this country and satisfy the needs in our state. I think as you look at energy in throughout the state, we recognize and appreciate those what many would classify as renewable resources, but we also recognize the importance and the backbone of those prime energy sources as well. So the oil, the gas, natural gas, coal, things like that. Those are all definitely a part of it. And also here in Idaho, the abundance of renewable hydropower as well. And I think that's something that we definitely recognize as well.
Yeah, but you really didn't answer my question, and I'm going to ask you again. Why are we putting so many eggs in the wind and solar basket when it's not reliable, it's not cost-effective, and it's going to be years and years and years before it even breaks even?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an excellent question.
I know it is. That's why I asked.
What'd you say?
I said I know it's a good question. That's why I asked it. Please answer.
Absolutely, and we're definitely. I think many of our members would see the things that you express are right in alignment with that, and I think that it's only wise for this country to continue to develop its natural resources, the oil and the gas, and we appreciate President Trump and for his vision on that.
Well, yeah, but we're developing, Idaho Power said that within 25 years they're going to get away from fossil fuels and they're going to have an energy grid comprised of geothermal and then also hydro and then also solar and wind. You know as well as I do, Braden, that if we're looking at that kind of a situation, that's a very unreliable grid. Why are we doing this, and why, if it's not cost effective, why are we pursuing this?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and I think that's one that we pose to the power companies as well. Is it really logical to move that direction, and what are the pressures that they are feeling to do that? Is that based off of sound economic sense and recognizing the need that our country has for reliable energy sources, and are those renewables really there yet to provide that stable source? I mean, I think that's. I think those are the questions that continue to ask.
What is the Farm Bureau, Idaho Farm Bureau, doing or working with our legislative sources? I mean, when you see something as an entity like the Farm Bureau that you don't like and it's not good for your members and it's not good for agriculture in the state of Idaho, what do you do to get the ear of the legislators to say, hey, back off and fly right?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. Another really good question. You know, a lot of it is trying to establish those relationships so that they recognize that, you know, our members represent a lot of their constituency back in their home districts, and when they have concerns, whether it's in the areas of energy, because obviously farmers and ranchers, we're large consumers of energy. You think about a lot of the pivots down in your neck of the woods. And the amount of energy that they consume, and I think it's really important that, you know, we have those relationships with the legislature so that they can help direct policy for the state as well. We also work directly with the utility companies. We're there during their planning processes. They start looking out, you know, 5, 10, 15 years, and starting to decide what is their portfolio going to look like. And so we try to take part in that process so that we can make sure that they're making common sense decisions. And, you know, we hope to always be part of that conversation.
What about the Farm Bureau, again, as an entity, a very powerful entity here in the state of Idaho, protecting our water? You know as well as I do that if you give somebody an inch, they'll take so many more acre feet of our water, and then we here in the state of Idaho are going to be suffering. One of the most stupid things that's ever happened in my lifetime was the fish flush, taking our irrigation water and flushing it down the Columbia. Where was the Farm Bureau, and what are they doing to help stop any future takings?
Absolutely. I mean, that water rights are key and crucial, and we are always try to take part of any water negotiations and policy that would affect the water rights of our Idahoans. And you're absolutely right. There are many downstream interests in Idaho water. A lot of other states that look to the water resources that we have in the state, and they look to take those, and we would definitely fight against any of those efforts, and they come in different forms. Anything from the talk of the endangered species to the breaching of dams and things like that. Also. Just the fact that we have so much public lands here, and the canals and the ditches that cross those lands, and obviously there are water users at the end of the ditch that rely on that water being delivered in those systems. So we do take part in all of these things, and whether it's on the state level or also on the federal level, making sure that that first of all, that we all recognize that Idaho is sovereign over its water resources, and that those water rights that have been adjudicated and are out there should be respected at all costs.
Braden, pardon me, I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to ask my engineer to ride that gain a little bit over there so we don't get feedback, but when you talk about endangered species, one of the biggest hoaxes that was ever leveled at us, the state of Idaho, 16 years ago, was the reintroduction of the wolves. We have brought them back in full force many, many, many times their numbers that we were in agreement with the environmental people on, and now they are flourishing. What are your thoughts on behalf of the Farm Bureau as far as the wolf and finally getting him off the protected status?
Absolutely. I mean, the wolf populations have grown exponentially and far past the levels that were ever agreed or envisioned in the past. And we see our producers suffering those consequences. I mean, the amount of depredation that we see on the cattle and the sheep industry, and it's really devastating, and it's only growing more and more. And we see these wolf packs, the known wolf packs, just continue to grow and go into places where they have never been. Another issue that this is causing is depredation, large game depredation, as those large elk herds and deer herds start moving down out of their typical high places, down into the valleys and where many of our crops are grown, down into the fields, and we see that depredation occurring out there on the farm, and a lot of it is due to those wolf populations. And so again, we work closely with the congressionals and to try to help them understand. And a lot of it, most people in the West definitely recognize the issue. Not all, obviously, but also I think it's important that we educate the other members of Congress, particularly out east, helping them recognize the economic toll that it's playing on Idaho and our ag community here.
One of the things that I'm an advocate of is land usage, because this silly juvenile statement that they usually say is, well, we've got to preserve the land for future generations. That's a bunch of cowpucky out in my corral, because if you take the land away from anybody stepping on it or using it, it's not going to be entertaining thoughts for future generations. Once it's locked up, it's always going to be locked up. Do you agree or disagree?
Absolutely. When we're talking about public lands, I mean, we are very supportive of the multiple use concept and multiple use principles, and I think that's something that many in the public don't recognize. Whenever you talk about federal lands and public lands, one of the first things to come up is access, and we want access. We never want to lose access to our public lands, and our members are completely supportive of that idea, but I think a lot of people don't recognize that's what's happening right now. We're losing our access to these lands on multiple fronts. Obviously, from the Farm Bureau perspective, we are interested in utilizing these natural resources for all these different potentials, whether it's timber harvest, whether it's grazing, or whether it's mining. But then, of course, you have the recreational components as well. But if you look at the amount of land that's being tied up and locked away, and essentially it's impassable, and it's very difficult to get out there and to enjoy these resources. And who are we saving these for if we can't get out there and access these now and utilize them, and also help responsibly manage them so that we can utilize them in the future and our future generations as well, and that we're not just losing them to catastrophic wildfires and other things like that, other disasters.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask if they can turn you up just a little bit in my headsets. I'm remote, about 35 miles away from the studio, Braden. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Let me ask you this, and this is a topic that I am adamant on. I absolutely think that the farming and ranch industry has to get behind a concentrated immigration reform. We can't just have a blind eye and a deaf ear of letting anybody come in illegally as an illegal alien and take up residence in any state. We have a problem here. Where does the Farm Bureau come in, and what's your stand on this?
Absolutely. That we definitely agree. It's very important that we recognize that we need to get a handle on immigration reform. And, from our members' perspective, this is something that is very important to them. First of all, we need a system that recognizes and would reform the current immigration plan that we have right now. Here, obviously, in our ag community, we also need a guest worker program that would work for us, so that we can continue to work and operate our operations and cultivate our fields, raise our livestock, and be able to harvest those products so we can get it out. That's something that we are very supportive of. We were really anxious to see in the last Congress progress made on that front, and unfortunately we didn't see much progress made on there in regards to a guest labor program that would work for our industry. Congressman Goodlatte proposed a bill to reform that guest worker program for our ag community. But you're absolutely right. It's crucial that we have an immigration system that works and would not just have an open border concept, that people go through a process where they are vetted and that they would come here legally to be able to come and work here.
Braden, you got to help me because I just don't understand this. Why is there so much of a boot dragging in the sand, if you will, to solve a problem that I honestly believe that it is right now 10:47? I think by 3 o'clock this afternoon could be solved. We could sit down and get this problem solved so that the dairy industry can have their workers, agriculture in general can have their workers, but yet we're not having people here illegally, and many draining the system of the taxpayer and also creating crime and havoc in our society. I think the problem can be solved. Why is there foot dragging?
Absolutely, and we asked that exact same question. This is not a new problem. Obviously, and thanks to President Trump, I mean, this is actually, he's brought it back to the forefront, but this has been an issue that has needed to be resolved for such a long time, and I think the question is this just a political issue that people don't want to address, or they want to keep it alive because it pulls out voters in different parts of the nation? And I don't know, but you're absolutely right. And from our perspective, there is a logical path forward that we could allow people to come in here. We could have a secure border. We could allow them, if they were needing to come in here for work, and so our producers could bring them in here legally and vetted. And I think you're absolutely right. There are great ideas that are out there, and for whatever reason, there is a lot of boot dragging on this issue. I'm not for sure exactly why.
Well, my concerns are, and whether you like him or not, but many of his policies have been working for our country, and that's the Trump administration and President Donald Trump. My concerns are that if we get in 2020 a lefty, a socialist, i.e. Bernie Sanders or Kamala Harris, we're in a lot of trouble in trying to solve some of these issues. Would you agree or not?
I would agree, and I think that's why it's important that we get we take some steps on this issue, that we solve this issue now in the next couple of years, because I think you're absolutely right. This issue is too important, and it's actually one of the biggest things that we hear in the agriculture industry, whether right here in the state as we travel around and visit with our county farm bureaus throughout the state, or if you go around to the other states as well. It's the labor issue. It's a labor shortage issue, and we need to develop a immigration system that would work. And like you say, you have to deal with all the facets: a secure border, a proper system, a vetting system, and a guest worker system that would work for our producers.
I've got to ask you, Braden, who set you up for the program this morning?
That's a good question, Zeb. It was Senator Anthony. He gave me a phone call this morning. As many are probably aware, they are and hopefully in the final days of the legislative session, and there's a couple lingering issues that the legislature is still dealing with, and obviously the Senate is on the floor right now. And so Senator Anthony called me this morning and asked me if I would be willing to take this call and go on the air with you and answer some of these questions. So.
You know, I gotta be very frank. I can just imagine that when this interview's over, you're going to take a handkerchief, wipe your forehead, and say, "Anthon, I'm going to get you."
Paybacks are sweet, aren't they?
You did a good job. Deputy Director of Governmental Affairs, Energy and Natural Resource Specialist, Braden Jensen. Braden, are you from the state of Idaho originally, or are you from another area?
I come from northern Utah. I was born and raised on a family farm and sheep ranch down there, and me and my family have moved to the great state of Idaho, and we sure appreciate it. My daughters were born here, and have twin girls, and we just love it. So.
Well, I want to tell you, you did a good job, and now the only favor I ask is come back in the future. I'd love to visit with you.
Well, thank you, Zeb. Sure do appreciate it.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Braden Jensen with the Idaho Farm Bureau, and I got to say how much I appreciate Senator Kelly Anthon calling him and asking him to come on the program this morning. There is a lot of things going on. There are a lot of things going on up at the State House with the Medicaid issue, et cetera, and early this morning, just to let you know, I talked to Fred Wood, Representative Fred Wood, and he said this is turning into a big rodeo up here. And he said it's going to be tough to get anybody to come on the air this morning. So again, my thanks to Senator Kelly Anthon for bringing that young gentleman on the air from the Idaho Farm Bureau. And, of course, the legislative update brought to you by Handy Truck Lines, 400 West, 100 South of Paul. Clay, we thank you so much for all your sponsorship. And, of course, Handy Truck Lines, 90 years, over 90 years of service to the Northwest and serving all the communities. Handy Truck Lines, thank you so much. Right now, it's time for the weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, and the telephone number 324-7657. Delicious meats! Oh boy, I'm telling you, all the different bacons, and the breakfast sausages, and the bratwurst, and the tri-tips, and the pork ribs, and oh, the list goes on. We'll tell you more about Scarrows Meats right after Gina and the weather.
It looks like precipitation is in our forecast off and on throughout the rest of the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies for today. We do have a slight chance of some rain showers as we move into the afternoon. Expecting a high of 59, a little bit on the breezy side. Tonight we are expecting a low around 40. For tomorrow, 80% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Expecting a high of 53. Winds out of the south-southwest right around 5 miles an hour for tomorrow night. Rain showers with a low of 39. By Wednesday, 30% chance of rain, mostly in the morning, partly sunny by the afternoon with a high of 57. Back to mostly cloudy skies with a high of 63 for Thursday. And as we take a sneak peek at Friday, maybe a 20% chance of rain showers, partly sunny skies, and a high of 64. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb.
Oh, she does a great job putting all that information together on our weather forecast. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats, Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, delicious meats. Go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Number to call, 324-7657. At Scarrows Meats, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Oh my, tomorrow a big day on this program. If everybody shows up on time, it's going to be really interesting. At 9:06, we're going to start at 8:06. We've got an open forum. At 9:06, we've got Gregory Wrightstone coming on to dispel some of the idiocy and incompetency that's being spewed by so-called climate change knowledgeable people. And they're not. And then we're going to have a little change. Dr. History is going to be on at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Why the change? Because at 10:06 we are expecting to have Jerome Corsi on our show. And that's going to be really, really interesting, and I'd like to thank that man for consenting to come on the program. And then also, we've got a new book at 10:30 called The Sinking of the Titanic, What Really Happened. So all of that coming up on tomorrow morning's program. Don't miss a minute of it. Want to remind you, too, about our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow. When I talk about these people, they are my friends. Each and every one of them, my friends. months. And all 7 locations are celebrating right now a great big spring tire sale where you can save money on the new tires you need for safe spring and summer driving. So get in there today and save money, whether it's on the Eclipse tire for your car, 70,000-mile warranty, superior ride quality, or whether it might be for your pickup and SUV, the Open Country HT. All of these tires and more, along with the best in brake service and front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, all of this at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow. What a day. First day of April. I know. April Fools. But we're supposed to have a great day today, and then it's going to taper off a little bit tomorrow and start having rain, etc. Enjoy, whatever. God bless. And remember, we'll be back here again tomorrow morning at 8:06. Ride the horse for 3 hours on Zeb at the Ranch, where we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.